This is the podcast for Narrate Church. Narrate Church meets every Sunday at 9 and 11 a.m. at the Grand Street Theater in Helena, Montana. For more information, visit www.narratechurch.org.
This morning we're going to pause from the series that we're in. We've been working through the series called Mind, Heart, Soul. And what we're doing this morning is, if you were with us on Vision Weekend, that weekend we talked about this culture of interning, and we introduced a guy named Caleb to you, and many of you know him. No, even if you know him, he's a bit of an enigma. Like, no one really knows him. And sometimes you wonder if he knows his own birthday, but that's its own conversation. So what I asked him to do this weekend was to just come and share who he is. And really what I've done is encouraged him to please be self-absorbed and come unpack for us his story and how Christ has entered his story and how his own unique experiences with the Lord have shaped the way he's leading and impacting students, particularly middle school students right now. Now, if you're a parent of a middle school student, then obviously this is some obvious background for you. If you're not a parent of a middle school student, you need to know that foundation that was started by Jason and then built on by Tom and then by James is just continuing to thrive. And under Caleb's leadership, it's crazy. There's this really neat small group of leaders, 20-somethings that are starting to grow. I don't know, I didn't talk to him this week, but incrementally it's grown from like 8 to 10 to 14. And so I talked to one mom who's like, I don't have a big enough vehicle to get all the kids that my daughter wants to bring with her to middle school on Friday nights. So you should be proud of Caleb and what he's doing with the Narrate students if you don't have any connection there. And then also, I guess the hope this morning is while he's sharing his story and unpacking his own testimony that you can relate to some of what he's going to challenge us on with regards to purpose, something that I think we all struggle with. So with that, Caleb, will you?
Yo, what up, Narrate? That was awkward last service too, I guess. So yeah, I feel super privileged to be up here and get to talk with you guys. So this morning, I'm going to talk about me, and I really don't want to talk about me, but that's what I'm going to do anyway. So I'm sorry in advance if you get tired of listening about me. So I kind of want to share kind of my journey in my life and kind of what that looked like of trying to pursue and follow Jesus. And if I could really kind of focus me trying to follow Jesus on like one idea or one main theme or pinpoint like one area, I'd have to do it on this thing called purpose. Like, it was this thought in my mind, like, why am I here? What's my point of existence? Like, why is it that I'm doing what I'm doing? Like, how do I get the most bang for my buck and get the most meaning out of my life? And, it was this thought like, when life is hard, when life, sucks out there sometime and it's full of pain and kind of broken, like, why do I keep going when it'd be easier just to give up and kind of live a monotonous life and take that easiest path? So that's what I'm going to kind of unpack this morning. So first things first, a little bit about me is I was born, I know, shocking, right? I was born one of 7 brothers in Bozeman, Montana, and I was number 6. I believe we have a family photo. Yeah, we're real photogenic. And so I was number 6, so that meant, I got beat up a lot by my older brothers, most of it well-deserved. And growing up, we were kind of raised in the church, kind of a very strict, legalistic church, a lot of do's and don'ts, everything's black and white, this is how it is, like checklist, like, way to be raised. We were there Sunday night, Sunday morning, Wednesday, every time the door was open. And so kind of that background, we had no TV or listen to any secular music, because that's of the devil, right? But so growing up, we played outside a lot, doing boy stuff, building tree forts and jumping off of houses onto trampolines and having apple fights. In the wintertime, we used to play with Playmobil and Lincoln Logs. Kids have a lot cooler toys now. And I remember my mother used to gather all of us boys, and we'd sit on the living room floor, and she'd read Little House to the Prairie to us, which I just discovered a couple of days ago that, she was reading Little House on the Prairie to us like most kids were getting read Harry Potter. So I feel left out now. So my parents homeschooled most of our years growing up, and when I was in second grade, my parents moved to Manhattan, and they decided to put me into the public school. So I should have been going on to third grade, and the one thing I didn't realize, though, is if you can't read by second grade, you can't go into third grade. And I couldn't read very well, so I had to repeat second grade. So second grade was a long 2 years for me. My parents then moved to Havre when I was about 10, and to work at a boys' home. And it was a boys' home for troubled teens, 13 to 17, who got in trouble with the law, drugs, alcohol, trouble at home. It was a very strict military-style Baptist-run boys' home. It was 30 miles north of Havre, so we were in the middle of nowhere, like houses not for miles around us. And so kind of in that atmosphere, like I had no friends, was homeschooled because there was no schools around us. And so I kind of instantly became like a cowboy, or at least a wannabe cowboy. And that was me back then. I was not cool. I guess some things never change. So kind of instantly kind of made animals my friends, so to say. You know, they were my only people I could talk to. And so I grew up on horses a lot, rode horses all the time, and I was in charge of the chickens for this boys' home. And we had over 100 chickens, and the Hooterites used to call me the chicken boss, for I was the boss of those chickens. I could make them lay eggs. And so, you know, kind of grew up cowboyish, I guess. But kind of something all changed when I was 12. I was riding my horse, chasing some cows in a field, and it fell in a badger hole and rolled over me. Ended up crushing my lungs, shattering my vertebrae, and just kind of messed me up. And so I was sent to the hospital in Billings for weeks, and then sent back for recovery time. About a year later, my legs started going numb, so they decided to do surgery on me, and they put titanium in my back. And so it was like this 3 year ordeal, and it with that type of injury, they put you on these drugs called Oxycontin, and it's this very high dosage, powerful pain pill. And so I was on that for about 2 years straight, just popping them like candy. And the doctors finally said, like, if you don't get Caleb off of these pills, like, he's going to be an addict the rest of his life. And, you know, so my parents started weaning me off of these pills, and started having these horrible withdrawals. And with that, I started having this deep depression. And I remember I started asking God, like, God, why would you do this to me? And me asking, like, why God is not something like that I grew up with. Like, you don't ask God why. Like, the type of church I went to, like, it was just how it is. Like, what happens is the way it is. Like, you don't question God. But I remember I started kind of questioning, like, God, I thought you loved me. Like, I thought you cared about me. Like, why would you let this happen to me? Like, I'm in full of pain. Like, when all the other kids my age are out playing, you know, sports and raising a ruckus, like, I'm stuck inside, like, walking with a cane and all shriveled up. Like, why would you let this happen to me? Like, the worst thing I've ever done is, you know, lie and steal something. Like, I haven't ever killed someone. Like, why didn't you let that happen to Johnny, you know, like, not me? And so in that process of asking God why, I started trying to find some answers. And so I started kind of doing my own research and my own study. And I remember I started reading the Bible, looking for answers of, you know, why God would let this happen to me. And so I remember I got on this kick of reading Ecclesiastes. And if you've ever read Ecclesiastes, it's like one of the most depressing books of the Bible out there. Like, and it's basically this journey of this guy named Solomon, and Ecclesiastes is kind of like his journal, and he goes, you know, trying to find purpose and meaning and happiness in life. And so he kind of tries all this stuff, you know, sex and education and alcohol and wealth, and like he does kind of a checklist of like, what's going to make me happy, what's going to fulfill me, and, you know, one thing after the other, and it's not making him happy. And I kind of related to this. And so I was just reading Ecclesiastes month after month, and I remember my mom was like, Caleb, like, stop reading the Bible. Like, you're getting more depressed as you read this book. Like, please read anything else. And but I remember running into a verse in Ecclesiastes that kind of spoke to me, and it was Ecclesiastes 3:1. To everything there is a season and a time, to every purpose under the heaven. And I remember reading that and being like, okay, God, like, I don't know why you would let this happen to me, but there's got to be a purpose, right? Like you say, everything happens for a reason. And so I started thinking, okay, there's got to be a purpose for this accident. And then also in that time, I ran across a verse in Ephesians. And Ephesians 2:10 says, for we are God's masterpiece. He created us anew in Christ Jesus, so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. So with those two verses, I kind of started on this path, kind of like Solomon did, of like, so what is my purpose? Like, what is going to make me happy in life? Like, there's a purpose for my injury, okay. So what about me? Is there like a purpose for me? And what is that? And so I kind of started on this trajectory of finding that. So fast forwarding, I messed up on that word last service too. So going forward a couple years, I was in ninth grade, supposed to be going into my sophomore year in high school, and I was homeschooled all those middle school years because I couldn't go to public school because of my injury. My parents moved to Shoto, and they gave me these two options, go to public school or you could continue being homeschooled. So this thought of, trying to find happiness, because I was still really depressed, didn't have any friends. I was like, yeah, I'll go to public school and, try to make some friends. And it was really kind of two reasons. It was one, to make friends, and then they had a woodshop class, and I really liked woodworking. And so I was like, yeah, I'll take woodshop class. But little did I know, again, that if you don't take middle school seriously, you can't go into public school as a sophomore. So once again, they made me repeat ninth grade. So I really, that was that was a bummer. So kind of got started a bad start to my high school career. And kind of the other thing that didn't go well is I didn't play football. I had no care to play football. But in that small of a school, everyone plays football. Like, if you don't, you're the outcast. And I didn't play football, and it was me and the two science nerds that didn't play football. And so kind of I was the outcast, and they didn't like me, I didn't like them. We got in scuffles, and it was not good. And within a couple months of being into school, wasn't really happy, but I liked woodshop class. But I ended up lighting a garbage can in school on fire. And that's a big no-no. Like, you do not light a garbage can on fire. And they knew that I liked woodshop class, so they ended up kicking me out of woodshop class. So students, don't do that. So I got kicked out of woodshop class, and I was like, well, geez, there's no point in me going to school anymore. So I had this brilliant idea that I was going to go get a job, and I was going to work for a cabinet shop, and I'd have woodshop class all day long and make money. So found a Helena phone book and started flipping through the pages, calling all these cabinet shops looking for a job. And of course, as soon as they heard my little boy voice, they would like instantly hang up and like, no, we can't hire a child. And but the last one I called was like, yeah, we'll hire cheap child labor, of course, come on down. So I ended up packing my bags and moving to Helena. And so I really only finished 8th grade, so I don't know, take that from what you want. But moved to Helena and started working at this cabinet shop. And it was not very fun because all I did was sweep floors for 8 hours a day and make, not very much money at all. But with that transition, my eyes were kind of opened, and because in that industry, the people that work there are, old 50-year-old hippies who hate life, are ticked off about everything. And so by 10 o'clock, they'd go get stoned. By noon, they'd go drink a six-pack. And by 3, they'd just be done for the day. And I'd never seen this before. Like, I was raised in a sheltered kind of life. Like, I'd never been around drugs or alcohol or pornography. And so my eyes were just, like, opened huge. And they saw me as a very vulnerable little boy. And so they started pressuring me with all this stuff. And then with that, they started kind of being like, oh, so you're a good little Christian boy, huh? How's that working out for you? And they started kind of picking apart what I believe and started, is that really what you believe, or is that just what your parents believe? And with that being kind of hammered with all these questions, I was like, I don't know. And so it began to be a lot easier just to be like, no, I don't believe in Jesus. Like, So I kind of put my faith on hold because it was a whole lot easier not to be questioned by these people. But I was still on this path of trying to find kind of purpose and meaning and kind of what I was supposed to do in life. So I ended up leaving that cabinet shop after someone tried to kill me, but that's another story, and getting a job for another cabinet shop in town. And I kind of moved quickly in the ranks there and was really motivated to kind of be the best in my field because I was thinking, that would give me purpose and make me happy. So, within a year, I ended up being shop foreman of, these 50-year-old guys that had been doing this for 30 years. And, me being in charge of them was not good for them because I'd only been, working for a couple years in the cabinet industry. But I was just really motivated, started making good money, was making over 18 or 16 bucks an hour there. So, had this money, was in charge of people, and it was this drive of like, yeah, that'll make me happy. But each step that I accomplished, didn't make me happy. The grass is always greener on the other side, like, is totally true. So I was like, well, I know what would make me happy. Like, if I started my own business, like, then I would be happy. Like, then I would feel fulfilled. So I ended up quitting working for those shops and started my own business. And it kind of instantly took off and became, pretty successful. And, was doing pretty good with clients and was making decent enough money. And I just still felt this emptiness, kind of this void in me. Like, why am I not happy? Like, anyone should be happy. Like, I got this good. And so it was just uncontent. And kind of something that changed there was I ended up having coffee with this guy that I knew, and he was kind of the same background as me, kind of real strict church upbringing. I remember going to coffee with him thinking that I'd have this innocent conversation with him, but little did I know that he would start hammering me with these questions like, Caleb, I don't think you're saved. Like, I don't think you believe in God. Like, you're not doing, like, dude, you're totally not following Jesus or saved at all. And I totally kind of went on the defense. I was like, what? Like, what do you mean? Like, yeah, I believe in God. And he's like, well, you haven't been coming to church, haven't been attending these 2 Bible studies. And I totally went on the defense. And he whipped out a verse, and because those people bring their Bibles with them everywhere. And he pulled out his Bible, and he turned to Ephesians 2:10. For we are God's masterpiece. He created us anew in Christ Jesus so we can do the good things he planned for us long ago. And I instantly knew this verse. And he's like, see, Caleb, you need to do the good things that, God planned for you. And so me being the smart aleck, I was like, okay, well, what are those good things? And he's like, well, first off, you need to start coming to church. You need, Wednesday night, get in, at least 2 Bible studies a week probably. No more AC/DC music for you because that's not helping you. And just started kind of doing this checklist, like how to follow Jesus, like this certain path, like you have to follow. And I instantly just got mad and heated up because that's what I was raised with, was this checklist of, do's and don'ts and how you can follow Jesus. And I remember grabbing the Bible from him and turning to Matthew. And I was like, dude, like, this is not at all what Jesus intended. Like, you're a Pharisee. And in Matthew 23, Jesus is having this discussion with these so-called Jesus followers, and these Jesus followers are saying, you have to do this, you have to do that, you can't do that. It's just this checklist, like this mold that you have to fit into exactly. And Jesus was just getting ticked off at them, like, this is not what I'm about at all. Like, he got more mad at these guys than, the prostitute and the tax collector. Like, he was just livid. And I remember reading to this kid that I was talking with, chapter Matthew 23, verse 27. What sorrow awaits you, teachers of religious law, and you Pharisees, hypocrites, for you are like whitewashed tombs, beautiful on the outside, but filled on the inside with dead people's bones and all sorts of impurity. I was like, see, you're a dead man walking. Like, Jesus doesn't like you. That's what you are. And so I remember leaving that conversation, and I feel bad for now how that ended, but kind of we were both ticked off at each other. And I remember driving home that day thinking like, so God says to do the good things he intended us to do. What are those good things? Like, if it's not like this checklist of like do's and don'ts of, how to follow Jesus. Like, don't get me wrong, like going to church and, and reading your Bible, like that's all good stuff, but like that's not like what all Jesus is about. He's about something more. So I was like, what is that? Like, what is he more about? And so I started doing this research of like, what is it? And I kind of found it in Matthew 25. And it's this interaction with Jesus and these Pharisees again. And he's saying, when I come back, I'm going to come back and, judge you all and judge you on what you did. And Jesus says, I'm going to judge you on, and he continues to say this, I was hungry and you gave me no meal. I was thirsty and you gave me no drink. I was homeless and you gave me no bed. I was shivering and you gave me no clothes, sick and in prison, and you never visited. And then those goats are going to say, Master, what are you talking about? When did we ever see you hungry or thirsty or homeless or shivering or sick or in prison and didn't help? He will answer them, I'm telling the solemn truth. Whenever you failed to do one of these things to someone who was being overlooked or ignored, that was me. You failed to do it. You failed to do it to me. And so I started thinking like, whoa, like, are those good things that Jesus intended us to do? Is that like help the homeless and like feed the poor and help the widowed? Like, is that what God intended us to do? Is that our purpose? And so I started thinking like, what do I want my gravestone to say? Like, when I'm done with this life, like, do I want people to say like, Caleb was a good guy, successful, business, educated, hot, top of his class, went to church all the time, never said cuss words. I was like, no, I don't want that at all. Like, I want my gravestone to say like, this guy's life was like hard. This guy's life was messy. Like, he did not take the easiest path all the time, but like, he loved people and he loved God and he served others. Like, that's what I want, my gravestone to say. And so I kind of started with a new outlook of trying to live that out, love God and love my neighbor, and started trying to serve others. And in my current, of me running my business. And it kind of gave me this sense of fulfillment and purpose. And, for me to say that, like, now it's easy and, I never struggle, like, it's far from the truth. Like, every day, like, I wake up and I'm, like, struggle with doing those good things that God intended me to do. But with that, it also kind of gave me a sense of hope and fulfillment. So I guess kind of that's my journey. And I guess my challenge for you guys would be, what are those good things that, God intended you to do? Like, that's different for all of us. Like, God does not have like certain things, for, this mold for everyone. Like, those good things are different for everybody, and it'll look different for you. But I guess my challenge for you is to look like, what is that? Like, is it in your marriage of, being a better spouse or dad or mother? Or, is it in your workplace of inviting the guy that just got a divorce and inviting him over for supper and, encouraging him and kind of uplifting him to get him through that time? Or if you're a college student, is it, grabbing a couple friends every month and going to God's Love and helping out with the homeless and the poor and, helping that way? Like, what are those good things that God intended you to do, like where you are at today? And I guess if you're someone, who doesn't even know about this whole Jesus thing or, believe in God, I guess my challenge for you would be, what do you have to lose? Like, do your own research and study and look into God. Like, are you totally satisfied and fulfilled where you are right now? Like, what do you have to lose to maybe do your own research and get kind of some fulfillment? So that's kind of my journey of purpose, and where that lands at today of getting to lead student ministry is kind of my vision is kind of twofold. It's for students, to walk in life with them and encourage them and, show them that God loves them and that, God's got a plan for them, and build relationships with them and try to just walk life with them is really, really the hope there. And then the second vision is to get some 20-something leaders and build a community. And, when we serve middle schoolers on a Friday night, we then go, hang out at Big Dipper ice cream and, encourage each other and pour into each other and, make fun of each other and just build this community of 20-something leaders that kind of can grow and can, do the good things that God intended us to do. So, I'm going to pray. God, just thanks for creating us. Thanks for creating us masterpieces that, we're not masterpieces like, Mona Lisa or Beethoven, but masterpieces like Mount Everest, and that you loved us, that you gave us a purpose in life, and that you intend us to do those good things, God. Thanks for your mercy and your grace and your awesome creation, and thanks that we can be the church together. Amen.
For more information on Narrate Church, visit www.narratechurch.org or download the mobile app for Android and coming soon to the iTunes Store.